Good morning, everyone. My name is Atticus. I am a senior. I'm homeschooled. I first started attending the St. Stephen's UIC program before the pandemic. I don't actually remember my first UIC meeting, but I do remember the first time that we played Grog. It was a thrilling experience, and I slept very well that night. During that time, I felt that the church and the youth programs were a great way for me to escape the various stresses of my life. Then, during the pandemic, Sunday night UIC meetings were replaced with Zoom calls. If you've ever witnessed an UIC event when everyone shows up, you can imagine how chaotic that Zoom meeting was. After the pandemic cooled down and we were able to hang out more, I decided to become confirmed and officially become a part of the action. At that point, I realized that the church community was not a way for me to get away from the stressful parts of my life, but actually was a part of my everyday life. Throughout those events, the St. Stephen's Church community remained a safe place for me and my family to be a part of something. To me, the St. Stephen's Church community is an embodiment of finding refuge in God. The community remained unbreakable as disease, shootings, and wars, and climate change each challenged its stability. The first part of Psalm 46 states, "God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth be moved, and though the mountains be toppled into the depths of the sea." I personally am proud to be a part of this community and what it stands for. There's a trail behind my house that leads to the Cahaba River, and in the winter and early spring, it is a great place to take a walk. Since there is fresh water so near, there is often a decent amount of wildlife in that area. One time, I was walking down to the river, and I passed a group of turkeys who clearly knew I was there, but didn't seem to care at all. Further down the trail, I also saw a group of deer who very much didn't mind my presence and ran off into the woods at extreme speeds. On the way back, the sun had started to go down, and it cast a golden light through the trees, illuminating the forest. To my surprise, the deer had come back and were following me through the trees, keeping their distance from the trail. At this point, I will admit I was feeling a little bit like a Disney princess. On the trail, I was surrounded by God's creations. It was easy to want to carry out God's will. In a similar way, it is easy to feel the same way in church when you are surrounded by God's people in a beautiful sanctuary. When you are not in church, however, it can be harder to see God's creations and feel empowered to carry out God's will. Today's readings from Colossians tell us, "For in him all things in heaven and on earth were created, things visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or powers. All things have been created through him and for him. He himself is before all things, and in him all things hold together." St. Stephen's helps me to learn that if you just take a moment to see the things around you, the trees, the deer, the turkeys, and the people around you, it gives you plenty of reason and motivation to spread God's love. Thank you, St. Stephen's, for providing a safe and positive community for the youth to learn about and participate and fall back on. Thank you, God and the church community, for helping the youth learn about and incorporate God in our lives as we move through life. In addition to all that, thanks for just being generally awesome.
Hey y'all, my name's Trey Glover. I'm a senior at Homewood High School, where I'm on the baseball team and I do show choir. I'm a created Episcopalian, and I was raised and baptized here at St. Stephen's. One of my favorite stories is when I finally got to play for the Monstars for the first time. And I went to the rec every day before the first game. And the time finally came for me to play. I changed the game, I got a rebound, and I passed it to a teammate. Everything was going really well. He took it up the court, and I set it around the three-point line. He shot the ball, and he missed. And another teammate got the rebound and saw that I was wide open beyond the three-point line. I got the ball, and I shot. When I tell you that ball went over the backboard, it's not an exaggeration. Another story is when I was younger. As we all know, PE was a little more competitive than it should have been. And I got frustrated with someone, and we went back and forth over the rules for floor hockey. And when push came to shove, I got suspended. But when I came to church that Sunday, nobody asked about it, and they acted like nothing had happened. And that showed me that I can always come to church when I'm at a low point in my life. This story reminds me of Psalms from today, verse 2. Therefore we will not fear though the earth be moved, and though the mountains be toppled into the depths of the sea. One more story. When I was younger, my older sister Blakely was going to this thing called EYC, and myself being in 7th grade, I always wanted to go. Fast forward 2 years, I'm in 9th grade, and Blakely finally took me because I was old enough. And I fell in love with the UIC. Fast forward another 2 years, she's going off to college, and I'm going to UIC by myself for the first time. When I walked into that room without her, it was a strange feeling. But I knew God was there to get me through that strangeness, and EYC has been one of my favorite things that has helped me through the toughest times, like the depths of the sea, and my best moments, like the mountains. When the deep dives and the highs high, the EYC room has always been a constant for me.
Hey y'all, I'm Miller, and I'm a senior at Mountain Brook High School. A couple of years ago, I took a trip with my Boy Scout troop out to Philmont. For those who don't know what that is, Philmont is a scout ranch sitting on over 135,000 acres of wilderness outside of the small town of Cimarron, New Mexico. During this trip, my crew and I, a group of around 8 scouts and 4 adults, hiked a total of 79 miles over 11 days. During this week and a half, I really didn't know who I was. Now, I'm not going to go on a spiel about how I was hoping to find myself or any of that. I really didn't know what I was hoping for. In fact, I was reluctant to even go on the trip in the first place, but I went. Now, I would say that I did know God just a little bit. I was a chaplain's aide while in New Mexico, so I would help lead prayer and Sunday services, but compared to today, I can't even relate. Despite my doubts, the trip was wild, pun intended. I never left the southeastern United States until then, and the desert of New Mexico hit me like a brick wall. The sky would go from clear and blue to cloudy, featuring cold rain and snow in a matter of seconds. The forest would appear in a constant twilight from the dense canopy, and despite this, the undergrowth came up and set a deep forest green hue to the world. However, not even half a mile away, the forest would open up into a seemingly endless row of aspen trees. On the last day of hiking, we woke up around 2 in the morning to hike 6 miles until the morning comes, in the pitch dark to the tooth of time. That night felt surreal. The mountains to the side, although we couldn't see them, we could feel an absence of stars where the mountains should be. We were hiking along a ridge line, Cimarron was to the left, and the mountains to the right. It was almost as if the mountains were looming over us, but we couldn't see where they were coming from. We reached the tooth, a large rock placed perfectly at the top of a mountain, a touch of gray against green and tan landscape, overlooking every acre of the land of Philmont. I really didn't expect much, just any regular sunrise, but the sun painted everything in the slightest purple hue. We were looking out, pointing where we camped for the past 10 nights with an easy wind against our faces and the glorious sunlight setting fire on the mountain. That was the first time I believe I truly experienced God's wonderful creation. In one way or another, God came in my life during those 11 days. I didn't have some great awakening or anything like that, and I didn't wake up one day telling myself I was going to go out into the streets with a microphone and speaker to proclaim the gospel. I felt pretty much the same. However, looking back, I wouldn't understand God like I do without what almost wasn't my trip to Philmont. Amidst some of the most amazing natural beauty and wildest weather that I've ever seen while on that trip, I regretfully never paused to realize that it was God who formed every ring on those trees, painted the mountains purple during the sunrise, or caused every ripple in the stream that I fell in while crossing nearly 60 times in one day. Now, why would God do that? For us to enjoy. Colossians 1:15 through 16 says that through God, all things were made, for God is in all things and lives through all things. So I figured out not too long ago that the trek was a form of worship and a form of adoration of God. For if we love and enjoy what God created and what God lives through, God is happy because we are happy. Psalm 46:11 resonated with me when I reminisce on this experience. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Now I pause and I think about that experience and how God touched me in it. I like to believe that every sunrise and sunset, God tends to exalt himself throughout the whole world. I discovered over this trip God's dedication and love for us, the extent that God goes through to ensure that we have a beautiful world to live in, one that we enjoy and adore, physically proves God's true, never-ending, and unconditional love.